You know, there was a bit of a discussion between myself and some other friends a while back about what's going on in this nation and what are you doing about it. And I realized that I wasn't doing anything about it. And I said, well, damn it, I'm going to go do something about it. And that's what I'm trying to do.
We're out here at the 3-point shooting range, which is about 25 miles southwest of Tucson. There's actually a Magpul Dynamics class going on in the background there. But we took a break from the action and reviewing the class to talk to a friend of ours, TheHossUSMC. And I'm sure you're familiar with him if you've watched our channel at all. But one of the things that we thought we'd talk about, since we're out here, again, southwest of Tucson, this is actually a very active corridor between Tucson, which is about 25 miles that way, and the TheHossUSMC Indian Reservation, which is just over those hills there. This sort of public land becomes a corridor for some very violent drug trafficking and illegal immigrant traffic. Now, we're pretty close to the border. We're about an hour away from the border here, the international border with Mexico. But once you go much further from the level we're at here, it just becomes a lot more violent with the drug trafficking. And Hoss, you're familiar with that, and that's one of the reasons you're out here.
Yeah, we come down, a group of us come down a couple times a year, sometimes once a year, and what we do is we come down to this area to assist the local folks that have been out, that live out here, who have been out on their own or in small groups in observing what the drug cartels, these violent drug cartels, are doing out here. So what we'll come down and assist them in the actual arrest and detainment of these folks, and then we'll turn them over to law enforcement, or we'll, if the situation dictates, we may call law enforcement to intercede for us. Sometimes we're way out, miles and miles and miles out to the hills, and it's just a lot easier for us to call 911 or the Sheriff's Department. We have direct lines to some of the folks out here that we can call in and just have them intercede and kind of direct traffic. So it's kind of like we're sending our own American spotters up into the hills to watch over the valleys out here.
Now, one of the reasons I wanted to kind of talk to you about the work that you do down here is I get a lot of questions. I'm sure you get a lot more questions about why you're here. It sounds to me like we're really talking about almost like a neighborhood watch type of situation, except instead of being in an urban setting in a community of houses, you're out in a more rural setting where people don't have the resources, and the police certainly don't have the resources to cover every square mile every second of the day. And we're talking about guys that are carrying lots of money worth of illegal drugs, and they're worried about law enforcement, but they're also worried about each other. I guess these drug gangs are stealing drugs from each other and just overall doing some bad things to each other, and it's the people that get caught in the crosshairs that are at risk here.
Yeah, this area, and any law enforcement officer you talk to out here will not lie to you, this area out here is controlled by the cartels, probably about 60 to 80 miles over the border. Some spots not so much, some spots much farther. But these areas out here, the private property has been abandoned. There's all sorts of abandoned stuff out there. People just don't go out there. Occasionally you'll see hikers coming through from California that don't know any better, things like that. But all the locals know not to come out here because it's dangerous, and there's actually signs that say not to go out there because there's smuggling. So one of the things that we do is come out and put ourselves in the way of the cartels to say, you know, this is a
Cartel did that.
One of the reasons we come out here is because we're saying to the cartels that you're not going to do this in my neighborhood. I'm not going to wait until they get to my neighbor and they're cutting his head off up in Oregon. I'm going to come down here now while they're cutting off the heads of folks in Mexico who are just as valuable and important to me as human beings as the folks in Arizona and my neighbors across the street back home in Oregon. We're here to try to stop these violent folks from committing these felonies along our border. And unfortunately, the climate in the U.S. right now allows for these. There's a market for these drugs, and so they're going to keep bringing them. But that's, we can only do what we can do to come out here and do what we can to help. And we have a lot more leniency. As a civilian, I can go anywhere I want and do anything I want, pretty much anywhere I want, without having someone from the Department of Homeland Security calling me up and telling me not to go there, or not to be out at this certain place, or not to go out at a certain time. I can go wherever I want, and as a citizen, I can make a citizen's arrest if I witness a felony, legally speaking. So that's what we come out here to do, is to try to assist the law enforcement. The guys out here with the boots on the ground, they don't play the politics nonsense game. They know what's going on out here, and they're not messing around.
Now, I think you bring an interesting insight to this whole situation, or this whole aspect of the border, in respect that you'll see occasionally a reporter or some sort of journalist come down and do some sort of research and then report on the situation down here. But unlike the in and out type of quick get the story and move on to the next one, you've been coming down now for many years. You're able to see the changes and what's working, what isn't, and how. And for example, the time you were telling me about last year, how the Border Patrol was told not to work overtime, and then amazingly, there's all these less arrests. And it looks really good on the books to say arrests are down, the border must be calmed down, but really what's happening is they're just working less, so there's less opportunity to make the arrests.
Well, I think that it doesn't take a conspiracy theorist to sit down and rationally think about the way our government works, and to think that they are not going to be cooking the books to some extent. Janet Napolitano says the border is secure, yet I can drive down a road over here about 45 miles and I can show you the 13-foot high fence that goes 2 miles in either direction from a Border Patrol checkpoint, and then show you where it ends, and it's just barbed wire. So is that a secure border? No, it's not, because I can stand up on a hill and watch cartels walk right across the border. And so I don't see how that's secure. And then you have the president who's mocking the folks here in Arizona, and it's disgusting to see what he's doing. He says, "Oh, what do you want to moat with alligators?" Absolutely, I want to moat with alligators if that's what it takes. These folks are violent. They're murdering hundreds and maybe even thousands of Mexicans, and they're killing our police officers, and they're killing our civilian folks that live here on the border. So I don't understand how they can say it's secure, yet I can go out there with a camera, which I've done many times, and stood right on the border and showed, this is our border with Mexico. How secure is this? And do I want a giant wall? No, I don't. I just want the borders to be secure. There's many, many ways with all the technologies we have today that we can secure this border easily at a low cost, but they refuse to do it.
One of the questions I'll get when I talk to people and say my friend from Oregon's coming down to do some border watch, the next question is always, what does that mean? And I try to explain it to them as succinctly as possible. And then the next question almost inevitably comes up, and I'm sure, with your infidel shirt and videos and whatnot, I'm sure you get the same question. So what are you guys, just racist? And this is a place you're able to, express your racism, or how do you respond to those kind of inquiries?
Well, I'm not going to lie to you. There's elements. There's always going to be elements of racism and hate groups everywhere within society. And are those groups down here? Yes, they are. Absolutely, they're here, and they're dangerous folks to be around, in my opinion. And I have nothing to do with them. I've met them and seen them face to face, and I don't want any part of that. I'm of mixed race myself. I'm an American Indian. I actually have dual citizenship with my nation and the Chickasaw Nation, and with the U.S. And many of the folks that come out here are of mixed race as well. On this trip, we had a fellow that was Puerto Rican. We had a fellow from New Mexico that was Mexican and of Mexican descent. And on past trips, we've had other folks that are Puerto Ricans and We had a couple of folks that are black or African American, whatever you want to call it, and it's not that we're racist; it's that we care. One of the other things that I do personally is, ever since I was a child, I've been going to a town in Mexico, and I'm not going to say where because of my openness about what I do down here. I don't really want to say where I go in Mexico, but I go to a small border town, and we go there to build homes. I've been doing this since I was a young boy, and we build these homes for these poor Mexican families, and most often it's for disabled folks, single mothers, or just people that really need a home. And we've been doing that. We come down to build about 3 houses a year, and we work with the Mexican government in building those houses. In the way that we provide the work and the materials to build the homes and our time, and they provide the selection process and that sort of thing, and that helps us associated with talking to the Mexican people, because otherwise it becomes kind of a thing where they come to us with their hand out, and it becomes difficult because then the people are fighting in line for that spot. But if the Mexican government runs it, then they're able to go and apply to the Mexican government and deal with them, and then we build for the Mexican government. So, but it's of course on private property for a private citizen in Mexico. Part of the problems we had early on with the project was that we would build a home for somebody and come to find out that they were squatting on that property, and then the property owner would show up and kick them off. So that's why we work with the Mexican government. There was a bit of a discussion between myself and some other friends a while back about what's going on in this nation and what are you doing about it. And I realized that I wasn't doing anything about it. And I said, well, damn it, I'm going to go do something about it. And that's what I'm trying to do.
Great. Well, obviously they're getting a little louder over there, but I did want to thank you for taking some time away from reviewing the class and helping our viewers and viewers of your channel understand why you come down here and what you do out here. And I'm sure for most of our viewers, I want to say, thanks for your efforts on that.
The guys and gals of GunWebsites.com encourage you to take a CCW class every year, practice at least once a month, and carry every day. Thanks for watching GunWebsites.com.